Welcome to the news. This is the sound of quantum computing. Yeah, that sound translated over the time of 5 minutes. If you expand that time over 5 minutes of that weird little sound, that is the sound of quantum computing. And that sound also translates into computing that is flying at the speed that corresponds to 10 septillion years of supercomputer speed. In essence, that is the news that has been reported by Julia McCoy, who is pretty smart, in essence, and she has reported that 5 minutes of quantum computing, not AI, quantum computing for 5 minutes from Google's Willow chip has corresponded to a supercomputer in yesterday's day and age before quantum computing existed, to be proven at this speed that a couple of days ago was proven by the Willow chip by Google that 10 septillion years have passed in terms of supercomputing power is the time that it took for it would take for a normal computer that is a supercomputer to be able to get what was done in 5 minutes with a quantum computer with the Willow chip that was accomplished by Google just a couple days ago. Wow. Yeah. Okay. That's interesting news. Typically, I don't just go off the cuff and report outside news, but that's just kind of mind-boggling, mind-blowing. Never understood anything that's been able to transport and teleport humanity 10 septillion years into the future. So that's just a little something for you, because ultimately that is somewhat what was reported at the same time. That's also exponentially faster than it was meant to be recorded at. In essence, it was meant to be 50 years later from when we were actually able to accomplish that feat, which was accomplished a couple days ago. Whoa, yeah. So, in other news, we're still trying to make our way to Asia, if possible, to do that sometime soon. I'm not sure 100% on the date. At the current time, we're still in the U.S., sort of triangulating certain aspects of trying to accomplish that gap travel situation. But at the same time, we're sort of juggling a little bit of, job process conceptualization to be able to try to land in a fitting job or a position that is trying to be able to optimize the process once we get over there, to be able to be more functional upon getting over there. And just some of the things that we're tossing up into the air is trying to do real estate in Hong Kong if possible. There's something called 10x B&B, for example, that in essence it's maybe possible to leverage some of the Craigslist listings to be able to do that with co-listing on Airbnb. We'll see if that actually kind of comes to fruition or not, or trying to do sales in other parts of Asia, so to speak. But there's the visa situation and there's the tourist visa situation, and so you gotta try to get a work visa situation, and at the same time we're trying to be an investing full-on investor type of a company ultimately after all. But we have to get more traction in the ground, more roots into the ground to get this traction. So we're trying to juggle a lot of different elements that are sort of unknowns in the air. So we're trying to get into different meeting correspondence in the meantime and such things. And it's a little bit of weird juggling stuff, but we're trying to narrow down some choices to be able to get there and be starting to report from Asia if possible sometime soonish. Yeah, and so those are a couple of the directions that we're considering in terms of trying to get into meetups also that are starting online, to start the process of meeting more people live at the same time. Is something good to be able to try to do. And ultimately, one of the other items that we're trying to connect with is being able to connect with other people that we're aligned with ultimately, and having that be something that today we went to an event that was a music event in essence, and being able to try to find people in essence that because we try to report about business music, that you try to find your own business music in the world, and you try to find people that align with your business music and other demographics that align with your business music. So in essence, you're able to go into certain dynamics, and as opposed to think too much, because networking tends to be a headache all the time. It's more of a thing where you're trying to write yourself in as code, write yourself as energy, write yourself as frequency into certain ideations, where ultimately if you can find that your frequency flows harmoniously with other sort of humans in the form of frequencies, in essence, that you can try to put yourself alongside into those certain frequency pools, in essence, to be able to try to find natural ways of trying to align with different people, to try to flow with them, to be able to try to find your own alignment with harmonious different energies, in essence, to be able to write yourself as code into the world in real life. It's like hunting, searching, trying to find these energies. These are called business music alignment harmony energies, in essence, where you're trying to search for specific events where in essence you can narrow it down to a demographic, where in essence when you write yourself into the situation in real life, life. This is an in real life searching process where you're trying to find people in real life to be able to go to events, go to things that are online, to be able to try to coalesce, correspond, try to do interviews, try to find ways to be able to write yourself into life, in real life. As code, basically, like as code, because your code adds value to their code, because your alignment, your focus, your research, it adds value to other people's research when you find the right demographic where you're trying to develop a give and take. And this ultimately helps us be able to try to set on the course for developing an entrepreneurship process, for developing a business that comes out of the blue, comes out of the woodwork, comes out of the pipelines of the unknowns, in essence, because you're aligning with different people, and then you find essences and nooks and crannies for demand to be able to try to find different crowds, in essence, that you're reciprocating reciprocal harmonious energy with different flowing folks is able to develop a demographic, which then therefore develops an audience, which then therefore you can develop a means to try to add continuous value to by continuing to sell products to those folks, in essence, by adding value to those folks, by selling to them eventually, maybe, if it gets to that. But ultimately, you're just trying to write yourself in as code by searching for and hunting for values or demographics and audiences that in essence are reciprocal. And today, in essence, as we're just continuing to chomp at the bit to be able to try to continue to make music, as this is a worrisome, sad, annoying attempt to be able to try to continue to make music, as this is like a form of punk singing. This is supposed to be a form of punk singing, although it doesn't always come across that way. And especially the room that I'm in right now, it doesn't help the reverb for me to be able to continue to sing. But nonetheless, we're still pushing on, and we're just trying to talk about making more music. We're chasing sounds also. I was talking about chasing certain energies and certain frequencies. We're chasing sounds because it was very inspiring today. The place where we listened to music today was a very inspiring little space. It had a good view of different outdoor landscapes at the same time through the windows, and that those landscapes combined with the music at the same time was deep music. It was a good way to get in touch with the depths of being able to try to chase music like storms, because I'm trying to collaborate and mash up with myself, in essence, to be able to also connect with different music people, to try to be a little bit harmonious in terms of music people that are out there, in terms of energies that are harmonious, in essence, to be able to ultimately try to be able to align with these energies, write myself in a code that's like music code, in essence, but it's business music code. But at the same time, we're actually trying to make actual music and trying to get some inspiration from more of these music people along the way. And we're trying to chase this music inspiration energy, like chasing a storm, starting to try to actively, as we try to go more towards the east, more towards the far east. I mean, in other words, to be able to try to continue to be able to try to, in essence, be able to chase music like chasing the storm, chasing music inspiration like chasing the storm, in essence, because ultimately we're trying to find different ways to mash up different sounds to be able to still add new value to new music, in essence, more or less, before the AIs make the type of music that we're trying to make, or I've always wanted to make, that's just weird. Basically, a lot of mashups that's like super interchangeable, different sounds that are playing consistently, electronic music, more or less like trance, that's weaved together with different sounds, in essence, that's opening the portal of a trance portal, in essence, that starts to play different characters and characterizations of different sounds, depicting different visualizations, and almost like depicting a play with lights, like a light show that's like hologram lights, more or less, or if you pretend it's like a drone show, basically, a light drone show, basically, but it's more elaborate, more depicted, more like a hologram combined with the drone show combined, but it's like doing that with sound. We're trying to do that with ever-changing, ever-present, consistent, ever-changing, ongoing sounds that are more like a combination of trance music and punk music and like ambient chill music, more or less, like synthwave, punk rock, like pop, synth pop music type of stuff, all combined into one, and then varying the different consistent choppiness of different sounds, different essences of different sounds, one to the other. So we're changing the mood, changing the dynamic, changing it constantly by changing the story and jerking people's attention all over the place constantly. That's the nature of the type of sound that we're trying to make in terms of music as a DJ, or whatever the process is, to be able to try to, even if it's like a decoy of like Dinky Tech, or of myself as Dinky Tech, to try to be able to develop more of an online persona, to be able to scale content that's online media content, to be able to develop more of a presence ultimately, so the brand can grow. And in essence, as we are also trying to continue to add value to the animal industry, we want to continue to add value to the animal industry. So in essence, we're trying to give money, and by giving also and employing like school purposes, for the purposes of investing, trying to teach basically investing, spiritual finance, and investing at the same time, more or less, to be able to also have this momentous energy, like our own BlackRock, like our own BlackRock hedge fund, in essence. So we're trying to develop hedge fund mindsets, develop hedge fund energy, develop hedge fund electricity for, in essence, like being harmonious somewhat, more or less, with green energy to the animal industry, to people in the animal industry, people that devote their time, people that devote themselves to be able to try to get dogs adopted, people that try to get shelter animals, known and seen and heard and understood and adopted and transitioned for better places and better fates. In essence, when there's a morbid animal industry out there, when there's too many negative issues revolving around the animal issues and animal industries, in essence, so we're trying to poise against that or towards that demographic to be able to try to develop value for the animal industry, to be able to get them more money, for them to have the ability to know about investing and to also be able to repurpose and reposition the industry itself into being more or aligned with the medical industry, which has too much money in the medical industry. Sometimes they're overpaying, and so hopefully it's possible for insurance to be able to like directly cover pets and the wellness for pets. And then around the world it can catch on, hopefully, because every single country is different, and we're trying to pipeline into every single country that is possibly possible with our music, with our business music, and with our hedge fund, in essence, all at the same time, so that we have partnerships in every single country going forward. That's why we talked about doing Airbnb in Hong Kong, if possible, because that is an international business in every single country, more or less. So we are trying to leak ourselves into every single country, leak our music into every single country, leak our DJing into every single country, so that in essence, we're trying to put posts in the ground. We're trying to put posts in the ground between Hong Kong, Singapore, more or less, and then like other spaces in this part of the world by having a tether pole between those two places, kind of somewhat, and then at the same time starting to tether different posts in the ground around the world, so that this business music and this music that we're trying to make that's hopefully corresponds to a DJ mascot or more distribution of possibly more effective, more efficient advertising, energizing music that corresponds to this erratic nature of ADD style music that's, well, not ADD, but just like all over the place, like erratic, shifting of attention, like in essence type of music that shifts the mood, shifts the experience, shifts the triangulation of beautiful music from the spiritual type zone into the distribution of all of these poles, in essence, that's distributing all of the poles constantly on an effervescent, ever-flowing process where we're turning on this electricity, and it is music and it's business music at the same time, so that as Dinky Tech, as a DJ, as a business music DJ, that we're able to radiate this current currency, in essence, to all of the poles that are conducting this electricity, this business music electricity all around the world on a consistent basis, and that's what our machine is doing. It's like infrared energy and electricity at the same time with rainbow colors, all conducting this electricity, this business music and actual music through this DJ mascot, business music mascot all around the world, all at all given times on our continuous, ongoing future travels and future ongoing prospects to be able to try to add value to the world through adding value by pushing this current and this philanthropy energy current and currency through these posts and through the source and through the resource from business music, from the source of business music, and continuing to try to put out and distribute different music and business music at the same time through different partnerships and have that coalesce so it's all one frequency and all one ongoing frequency that's continuing to be output in a perpetual sense, so that it develops a machine that's continuing to develop this energy, this frequency, this development of electricity known as philanthropy energy, known as global philanthropy energy, yeah! And the global philanthropy energy grid is meant to continue to grow from this, yeah! Thanks again, Ding Tech Change for Games, Ding Tech Change for Games Studios. Bye, peace, bye.